I was last night after this conference and after all the discussions, I had an overload of information once again. And again, I'm humbled at the amazing knowledge that exists within this room, and also our non-Indigenous colleagues that are attending Think Indigenous, that are wanting to explore and work in this realm and understand our ways and are valuing them. And I'd like to thank you for participating here and being involved in this conference and being involved in wanting to be part of a solution. And I'm reminded, I look at each of you, and I'm continually humbled by your brilliance. And that's no lie, that is the truth. And I'm reminded that how amazing our people are, how resilient we are. That no matter what has been done to us, we're still here. And these are great, this is a great thing. How strong and how tough and how brilliant we are, and the knowledge that we possess is beautiful. And we're going to be here today listening to story. We're going to be here today listening to tradition, listening to culture, listening to knowledge being shared. And I'm very excited about this when this happens, because we do walk in two worlds. We do walk in this realm and this understanding. But one thing that always brings me back is our ability to present that knowledge. And we're going to be enjoying a day full of that. And to help us with that, I'm going to introduce a friend of mine that was instrumental in the conversations leading up to this conference, that is somebody that has his feet to the ground constantly, that is on the road, that is doing great things across Canada, across Turtle Island, and sharing how beautiful our knowledge is, and sharing the truth that's out there, the truth about how we're treated within this country as Indigenous people, the truth about how beautiful our elders are and our knowledge keepers are, and how beautiful our ceremonies are. And he has an outlet that he's used to do this through media, through the internet, through laughter. And at times, I use that for myself as medicine to ensure that, when it's almost at that burnout stage, that laughter brings us back. And we're lucky to have this individual doing the work that he's doing and sharing his gift with each and every one of us. And sometimes we forget the people that are up here, that are traveling, that are doing these things, that they have families that are at home. They have relatives that are at home, and they have family things that happen. And still, they're here presenting this life's work. So it is my great honor and great privilege to introduce your host for the Think Indigenous Talks, Mr. Ryan McMahon. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thanks, Chris. That was exactly how I wrote it. Very well done. We rehearsed all afternoon yesterday. We need Simon Bird to, before we start, we need Simon to bring a short bio to the ladies at the registration desk. I don't have a bio for him to introduce him, so if we could just get a 4 or 5 line bio, that would be great. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our 3rd annual Red Talks. And there are a bunch of people that were sitting around when we kind of came up with the idea of sharing time this way and presenting best practices and presenting stories. And Colby, we were sitting in a Perkins, of course, where all great Indigenous thought happens, over a stack of pancakes, making our diabetes worse. And and it was late at night, but we kept talking about these really cool YouTube videos and different things that we had discovered, and we thought it'd be pretty cool if we created a space for our own Indigenous thinkers, our own people on the ground, in the classroom, in the communities, doing great things, sharing and inspiring others. And I'm going to move away from this a little bit. I actually have a short presentation today. Do you have that clicker, sir? You have the clicker? Thanks. Is the lav on? There we go. The moment that we're in right now is, I think, as I said in the film screening, is a moment that I really believe they're going to write books about this time. I really believe that we have reached a critical time in our lives as Indigenous people in our homelands here in Turtle Island, where we are at this verge of a great breakthrough, or we are on the verge of a great breakdown. We're not sure how it's going to go yet, and that's why we're calling all the strong hearts to the front. We're calling all those of you in this room to continue to lead and to share love with our young people, because we are at this critical juncture. And the time that we're in right now is, I think, a time that our ancestors only dreamed of when they agreed to create this place called Canada with our non-Indigenous friends that came over here. But we know what has gone on over the last 150 years. We know that over the last couple hundred years, our way of life has changed dramatically. And the work that I'm trying to do with technology and storytelling and a little bit of bush tea is centers all of the good things to me, centers all of the good things about what has kept us here. And I want to just present very quickly, I'm not going to take a lot of your time, why we're here. And it's digital media, bush tea, and Dabad Jimawanan. Dabad Jimawanan in my language, in the Ojibwe language, is stories, is storytelling. And to me, our knowledge is so profound. Our knowledge systems are so profound that it could take a lifetime, to learn just a little bit of that system. And that's why we need everyone learning that system, so that we all carry a little bit to share. And in this day and age, it's not good enough to say that our young people need to get off their iPhones and iPads and go outside. And while that's true, I think it is on us to meet our young people where they are at. It is on us to find a way to create a doorway for young people to walk through that embraces technology, because unfortunately, the internet is not going away. The internet is getting more and more pervasive in our lives, more invasive in our lives, and there are more smartphones or smart-enabled devices on the planet than there are people. And think about that. And just think about your own home. If you have an iPhone or a tablet and a computer, and maybe your kids share a little tablet or something they watch Netflix on. In some homes, there can be 5, 6 smart-enabled devices. And it's okay to get mad at them for playing video games all the time. That's okay. You can get mad at them for that. And you can get frustrated at your chubby nephew for not wanting to go play baseball. But your chubby nephew, that's me in this story, has found something that they're interested in inside of this little tablet, inside of this little world. And my favorite author, my favorite writer, Basil Johnston, said, "Traditionally, we were a contemporary peoples." And I just love this quote. I love this idea that traditionally, Indigenous people, no matter what day and age we were in, we always picked up the tools of the day and made them our own, turned them into something good for us. And whether that was steel and knives, whether that was hand drums, because drums are a technology, whether that was any other form of technology that has come into our lives through history, We've always embraced that technology and turned it into something good for us. And so I offer today, in the work that we're doing here at Red Talks, the reason why we're recording this, the reason why we're streaming the audio, the reason why we're sharing this way, is we are trying to create a doorway, a new type of doorway for our young people to walk through. I wasn't raised around powwow culture. I come from a long line of residential school survivors, and I discovered powwow in my late teens and my early 20s. And the way I talk about powwow as a technology is that it just created a doorway for me to walk through. It created a doorway for me to discover, and once I walked through that doorway, I discovered this beautiful way of life. But inside the powwow circle, inside that circle, there are many other doorways for me to walk through. I can meet many other people that have many other things to offer. Going to the powwow and starting to sing powwow and starting to dance introduced me to some of the most influential and beautiful people I've ever met. Some of those people saved my life. Some of those people introduced me to the sweat lodge, introduced me to other ceremonies in my home territory that I didn't know existed. But had I not walked through that doorway that our ancestors created, that powwow, I may not even be here today. And so these doorways that we create become our own when we embrace our knowledge systems and build them for our people. And we do that time and time again in many, many different contexts. Indigenous innovation, this is a buzzword. I don't know if you know this buzzword, but apparently sitting in a circle, talking, letting everyone talk is really innovative. I did that at an innovation conference as I was presenting some of the technology work I'm doing. And I made them break down the whole conference room and get the tables out, and everyone was mad. The conference center was pissed off. How can you make us, we're just going to take 20 minutes. I said, it'll take you 10 minutes. Start moving, go. And we moved all the chairs and sat in a circle. And the woman, the head of innovation at this innovation center called the Mars Innovation Center in downtown Toronto, slapped her colleague on the shoulder and said, "See, this is innovation." It's like, no, it's just a sharing circle, but thank you. I mean, yes, it's very innovative. Yes, I just thought of it. Yes, I know, yes. Write a check. $6 million will work. That's good, yes. We are very innovative. But the idea of innovation in the classroom or in our communities or in our lives has to bring everyone with us forever. Because if we are innovating, if we are creating new things, if we are building new ideas and working in new and different ways, we have to bring all of our people. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think sometimes we forget that there are those that can't make it to the powwow, don't have gas money, weren't raised that way, don't know someone that beads or sews. And there's kids in your classroom that get left behind all the time. Some uncles and aunties go hunting, some don't. And so when we talk about, well, no, we are connected to the land as Indigenous people. Yeah, that's true, but not everyone is. So we can't leave people behind when we innovate. We can't leave people behind when we embrace these technologies. We have to think about including everybody. How do we build a safe space for all? For those kids that maybe move a little slower, for our two-spirit kids, for those kids that don't have a safe space, what does that innovative safe space look like today? George Orwell famously in the book 1984 said, "He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past." It's a pretty good quote. I like it. It can apply to what we're going through now with the Truth and Reconciliation. If you control the past, if you can wrap your head around the past, you control the future. You can understand where you're going. In our language, we have a word for that, biskabiyang, to look back in order to look forward. It's a pretty cool concept. And Orwell is talking about something similar here. I rewrote the quote to be gender inclusive. They who control the past controls the future. They who control the present controls the past. And then I added the line, they who control the future understands their past and our present. And I want to present that as the foundation of what we're doing today, is we control our future as Indigenous people because we know where we come from and we are present with each other today. We are giving our good hearts and our good minds to each other in a way that opens up new possibilities, in a way that creates an indigenous future for our children. That's what technology can be. And we are working on creating technologies that will land in your lap, in your classroom. I just embarked on a cross-Canada tour with a project called Stories from the Land, engaging Indigenous communities in storytelling with elders and youth out on the land. And I had to learn really quickly that the only way to engage with Indigenous communities and create this type of space was reciprocity. I had to come in there in a good way and follow protocols everywhere I went. And my protocols are different than protocols in Francois' territory, protocols in Mi'kmaq territory on the East Coast. And you learn to engage with this knowledge. But by engaging in that knowledge, we're engaging in reconciliation. We're forcing people to come together in a hall when it's not a bingo or a funeral. We're engaging in reconciliation by remembering, and that's what storytelling does. Storytelling forces us to remember. And look at that word, remember. To remember. To rebuild our communities through recalling who we are by sharing story and sharing who we are. To remember, for me, is the most revolutionary act we can engage in today. To remember is to call people back to the circle, to remind each other of our responsibilities, to remind each other of who we are. And to engage in that in 2017 by embracing some technology. I'm not saying iPads for everybody. I'm also saying go outside and cut some wood, yeah? Because the elders are waiting for us. So clearly there has to be a balance. But we can imagine if we do the work to put our language, our stories, our songs, not all songs, not all stories, but some, into the hands of these young people, we are winning. But if we just completely refuse technology, I'm afraid that will be as harmful as those schools were. So if we don't embrace the technology, we'll be in trouble. This is the final slide. I'm not even scheduled here, huh? I'm supposed to just tell you how the day's gonna go, but I snuck it in there. I just snuck it in. I'm passionate about the possibilities of technology and storytelling, the intersection of our knowledge and the way we can gift that to our young people it really excites me. And this has to be done in person. When we create these materials, we need to be on the land with each other. This talk that I snuck in here is called iPhones, Bush Tea, and Dabajimuanan. We need the bush tea. We need to be in the bush. There's not really bush over here, but we need to be on the prairie. Yeah. We need to be in the grass. I don't know. I don't know. Now I'm stereotyping. I'm going to get out of here before I get beat up. But you know what I'm saying? And these stories are everywhere. This is a digital map that we make when we do the Stories from the Land process with communities, and it always starts out the same. We ask young people to draw their community. And we hit Google, and we make sure we have an official Google map. But we make young people draw parts of their community. Where's the school? Where's your favorite place to go hang out? Where's your favorite childhood memory? Where did you go fishing? Where was the old residential school? And we work with elders and youth to do this work together, to remember their community, to re-engage with that history and that knowledge. And it always starts out the same. When we present the opportunity for communities to come together, elders and youth both at the same time quite literally go, I don't know anything. I don't know nothing. It's like, no, you do know something. You're alive, so you know something. And you go, well, you start to ask these questions, and you say, well, put a pin, put a Post-it note on the map, and show us where your favorite place is. And here on this map, you can see this big chunk of black on the bottom. That was the lakefront where their beach is. And so many of their stories exist here on this lakefront, on this bottom here where the beach is. And this path, this black line that cuts through the middle, is the path that goes from the beach back up into the community. And so many good things have happened here. This is where much of the local community and history happen. That at the beach, the hunters would come in and bring their kill up on the beach here, and the community would greet them. Over here on the left side of the screen here, this is where much of their ceremony and different things would happen. And when we started to rebuild these stories, this community realized very quickly they had a lot more than they thought they did. That in fact, their way of life, their ways of knowing were a lot more intact than they would have believed. And that's a really, really beautiful thing to give to young people. I've managed to turn this off somehow, but that's okay. I'll leave you with this idea, and then we're going to get started here this morning. That if we are able to somehow bring this sense of remembering into the classroom, into our communities, by engaging with those that aren't usually in your classroom, by taking a risk and looking at those people that carry these stories. They are elders, they are parents, they are aunties, they are uncles. There is indigenous knowledge all around us, everywhere. And we always talk in deficient language. Oh, we've lost our culture, we've lost our language, we've lost our songs, we've lost our ways. If you believe in Gije Manitou, if you believe in the Creator, or God, or however you identify that higher power, you have to believe that the Creator would never allow us to lose anything. That if we are spiritual people, and if we do believe that the Creator has sent these gifts for us to pick up, that nothing is ever lost. I don't like that deficient language. I challenge you to use different language around the idea. What I believe is that all of the language, all of the laws, the knowledge, it is on the land. And the way I picture it is that they're in these little bundles. And they're in these little bundles for us to discover or rediscover out on the land with our young people. That's where our language comes from. That's where our songs, our ceremonies come from. Everything comes from the land. So if we can find a way to bring the land to our young people, even if you're downtown Saskatoon, that's still land. There's a history in downtown Saskatoon that has been untold. But if we find a way to bring the land to our young people, they will remember who they are. It's inherent, it's who we are. And that's a beautiful, beautiful, exciting concept to me. It's something that I wish would have been embraced 25 or so years ago when I was in school. But the act of remembering is a beautiful act of love. And I wanted to start the day by encouraging you all to embrace that beautiful act of love by remembering who we are and allowing young people to do the same. So, miigwech, hi. Thank you very much.